Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mountainside Podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Marshall, and you are listening to Episode 1. Today, my guest is Justin Marsteiner. He is a Colorado mountain man survival expert. He has a school outside of Colorado Springs, Colorado, where he teaches your everyday average Joe survival skills, first aid, all kinds of different stuff, mushroom hunting. He's got a ton of experts that are there with him at the school that teach all kinds of stuff, and I've thoroughly enjoyed the conversation I had with him today. Super knowledgeable, and what a great guy to have on our first episode. Hey, Jason, thanks for coming up, man. I really appreciate you making the drive right now and coming up and talking to us in kind of this crazy time. And, with the weather being so nice, it's kind of crazy to see everybody outside right now, too.
Oh, yeah. No, you're absolutely welcome. I'm happy to be here. There was quite a few people out running right now, and it's hard for people to stay indoors during the quarantine when it's such nice weather, and we're starting to hit on spring. So this is when people are normally used to running out and going frolicking in the woods.
Yeah, I know. I got the itch to get out. Today I found myself running. It's funny, the other day I actually took off, and I don't run very much. You can tell by looking at me, but I got out the other day, and the first day I went running, I got pulled over by like a park ranger and was like, hey, we're closing the park, so if you want $1,000 fine, you can keep running or you can go home. I was like, I'll go home.
Yeah, I think I'll turn around and go the other way. Thanks.
Right. So you run a survival school.
Yeah.
Based here in Colorado.
That's right.
You're a Colorado native.
I am.
Can you tell us a little bit about your background and kind of what got you into this?
Okay, well, I run Colorado Mountain Man Survival up outside of Cripple Creek, which is on the backside of Pikes Peak from Colorado Springs, for anybody that's not familiar with it. I was born in Colorado Springs. My parents were Air Force, so I was born on the Air Force Academy. That makes me a military brat, and worst of all, I guess that makes me an Air Force brat if you know anybody that's in the military. I am not former military, but my entire life I've been around people that were in the military, hardened vets, seasoned vets, just your everyday run-of-the-mill military guys. So I kind of walk the walk and talk the talk without actually having walked the walk, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? I just
100%.
Yeah. I'm just everything that they learned when they were in forces. I kind of picked up a little bit along the way without actually being in the services. But I grew up in Colorado, born at the Air Force Academy, like I said. We spent many years in Colorado Springs. The only time I've lived outside of Colorado is we went back out east to Ohio when I was kindergarten, first grade, to live on my grandfather's ranch. I think it was like 400 acres, if I recall correctly, but we just lived on a big farm out there, cornfields and cows and stuff like that. Only spent a couple years there, and then moved back to Colorado Springs up until I think fourth grade, and then we moved up into the mountains. We moved into Cripple Creek, and I lived in Cripple Creek until I graduated high school, and then I went up to Greeley for a few years. My major, I was a biology major. Didn't really know exactly what I wanted to get into, but I was looking more into like forestry or park services. My science teacher in high school was kind of my inspiration. He was a ranger up at Estes Park,
awesome.
Rocky Mountain National Park. So I wanted to be like him when I grew up, kind of. So that's where my focus was when I first started going to school, to college. I was taking wildlife biology and some regular biology classes, and then of course all the core crappy classes that everybody hates to take. But I after about 2 years of doing that, I really decided that big college wasn't my thing. So I whatever, partying too much or whatever you want to call it.
I know
I just,
the feeling.
I just wasn't interested in it. So I moved back to Cripple Creek for a while. Got a job at the gold mine that's up there. And then I did go to school for a little while, just testing things out. I went for electronics and a little bit more forestry and some other random stuff. And I just decided that school wasn't for me. So I stopped doing it.
That's what I decided about in the 6th grade, I think.
Yeah, well, I really enjoyed high school. I was really, I was kind of the nerd in school, believe it or not. But yeah, I just didn't like college. It just wasn't my thing. So I, went back, worked in the gold mine for 3 or 4 years, geology department, and then I went to the blast crew for a little while, blowing things up. That was pretty fun. Yeah. But I spent most of the time that I was there in the geology department. I was a geotech, and I was helping the geologists chasing gold samples around the mountains. I just love being outdoors.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I love that. I worked with my grandfather in road construction.
Right.
And when I was in high school, I would get off in the afternoons and then go drill like 30 or 40 holes. And then we'd load them with dynamite and Perel and blow it up at the end of the day. And it was one of the best jobs I ever had, just because it was fun, man.
Yeah, blowing
things up. It was fun blowing shit up. I enjoyed drilling. It was hard work. I like hard work. So
yeah, me too.
Cool.
I love working my hands. I love the hard work. My biggest shot we did on that blast was 500,000 pounds of explosives.
Holy shit,
of
man.
ammonium. That's of ammonium nitrate. The same stuff that they use on that Oklahoma City bombing, which was only 1,500 pounds.
Right.
So I used 500,000 pounds. You can imagine the big boom that I made with that.
That's awesome.
I say me, but the whole blast crew. But
we used the same stuff. So the dynamite was actually, there was a blasting cap that went inside the dynamite. Then you tamp that like down in the hole, the dynamite with the primer cord out. And then you take like a Dixie cup, and I don't know if we were doing it properly, but
I mean,
my grandfather had like
whatever works.
Yeah.
You're still alive.
And just like one of those little Dixie cups, and just kind of pour some Perel in there, and then every once in a while we'd be like, "Woo, we loaded that one a little heavy."
Right? Yeah, the rifle, the hole, and it shoots stuff out of there. Yeah, no, it was pretty awesome. But before that, I did a lot of odd jobs. I did construction. I was a tourist guide. I worked at restaurants as a waiter. But that all kind of helped build up my personality to what I am now. But after working at the gold mine, my boss moved on to IT. My boss from working at the geology department, and about 2 years later, he called me and he's like, "Hey, you want to get into IT?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't know anything about it." He's like, "Well, I like your work ethic, so come work for us. You'll make twice what you're making at the mine." I was like, "I'll be there tomorrow."
Right. What a difference, though. Right. I mean, going from like white collar, basically. Did you have to wear a suit and all that sort of jazz too?
Well, I had to wear slacks and a freaking polo.
That's even worse almost.
Absolutely horrible. But I ended up doing that for almost 20 years, and I tell you, I freaking hated every single minute of it. I was behind 5 locked doors I had to badge in to go through. I was very proprietary, so there was no windows. They were worried about people spying on what we did. So I learned system administration and application support and all that boring crap. I won't even get into it. But that's what I did for 20 years because the pay was good. And I just hated it. Just absolutely hated it. Every chance I got, I'd go back out in the woods or go do whatever just to get outside. I'm not really a skier, so I never really got into the skiing things. I call that falling down the mountain at a high rate of speed.
I'm the same way. I'm like out of control, high rate of speed.
Right. So after yard darting a few times, flipping over backwards and landing on my head and my shoulders on skis and snowboard, I was done with that after just a couple seasons. But I never did it growing up, so I tried to pick it up as an adult, and I just hurt myself too bad. I was like, nope, I'm good with just going hiking and camping and hunting and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Jeremy's a bit of a skier out there, the man behind the curtain back there. He I don't think any of us really are. I mean, you know when a good one goes by you, that's for sure.
Yeah. So what's funny, lived in Cripple Creek until the late 90s, and what everybody calls prepping and survival these days is just a way of life when you live in a small mountain town. I mean, you're up here in Evergreen, you kind of get the idea. You don't go to the grocery store all the time. You don't.
And funny you brought that up. That's one of the questions that's on my list. Like, do you consider yourself like a full-on prepper? Like, are you the guy that has the underground bunker with like, 9,000 rounds of ammo?
No.
Well, I just wanted to know if I could come to your house when all this shit goes down.
Yeah, just bring supplies.
Right.
I got friends coming to me that are like, I'm coming with you. I'm like, you bring supplies and you bring ammo or you bring skills. Otherwise,
right,
we're going at it. But
oh yeah, there you go.
that's a nice.
How much is that thing?
For a storage container missile.
So does that thing go underground or is that an above ground? What's it say there, Jeremy, about it?
It looks fun.
That looks camoed. Let's see a description on it. $6,500. That could be yours.
Ooh.
Wow.
And it's
I don't know, man. I think a sea container might be better unless that thing's like watertight or something. Right? Oh, okay. Oh, it's eBay. Yeah, that's legit.
eBay.
That's not a ripoff.
No. Some people would probably consider me a prepper.
Mm-hmm.
I hate that term. I just hate it, especially since the whole doomsday prepper thing came out.
I think everybody is right now, though. I mean,
Yeah.
but they're prepping kind of in the wrong way, in my opinion, and that's one reason why I reached out to you. Like, okay, you got 9,000 rolls of toilet paper. That's
Right.
not, you can't eat it.
No, you can't.
You could. It probably wouldn't taste very good,
Right.
but I mean,
Well, yeah, it probably tastes pretty
Yeah.
awful. You put a little salt and pepper on it, you'll
Right.
be all right. But yeah, people are prepping the wrong way, and I think that was just a knee-jerk reaction because they saw other people doing it. But being in that small town, that was just the prepper mentality is just common sense. But yeah, I mean, now I have stuff in my house. I have, a lot of stuff, a lot of food. I could make it quite a long time. I probably have more stuff now than I did growing up. But growing up, we always had probably at least 3 months worth of food. We had a freezer, a big freezer that, as big as this table here in front of us is 6 foot long. That was full of deer and elk and fish and
that's how my family is. We grew up, I mean, being Colorado natives, living in a small mountain town, back before like the Walmarts and all that stuff started coming into these places, your only choice was to drive to Denver or like maybe Colorado Springs was the closest thing for you, right? To even get a grocery store sometimes.
Right. So when you went to the store, you didn't just go for bread and milk. You went for at least a month's worth of supplies. And that was, pasta and spaghetti sauce and canned goods and, what everybody eats on a normal daily basis. You just bought it in a form that was non-perishable.
Yeah.
And you brought it back and you put it in your big pantry at home. It was just normal. I've stepped that up since I've started learning.
We have too, yeah.
I
think everybody has.
But I probably started, so really where I stepped up my game, and this is just really stupid, was in 2010. And 2010 is where I ideally got into the survival business. And it's the dumbest story on the planet.
Yeah.
But maybe you'll appreciate it. But, work in IT. I worked with a really tight-knit group of guys. There were about 6 of us in this locked-in room, and we pretty much knew intimate details about each other. And one of my good friends is Mormon, and he came in one day with a big old bucket full of food. And he's like, hey guys, can you help me eat this food? It's from our store supplies, and it's going outdated. It's past its expiration date, and I just don't want it to go to waste. So will you help me eat it? And I'm like, what? And he's like, well, this is from my 72-hour kit, and this is from my bug out bag. I'm like, 72-hour kit? What the hell is that?
Right.
So he started.
Can you explain what that is to some of our listeners that maybe don't know? Yeah. I don't know.
Well, I didn't know then what the hell it meant, but
sure.
I did, to explain that here in a second. But a 72-hour kit is what you would carry with you, whether it be a backpack or in your house or whatever, that would get you through 72 hours.
Okay.
So if there's a power outage, or you run off the road going down the mountain and you're stranded in your car for 72 hours, what do you need to survive for 72 hours? Food
That makes
supplies,
sense, yeah.
blankets, a knife, water, whatever that may be. And it's individual for each
Bottle of
person.
whiskey.
A bottle of whiskey, maybe 2 bottles.
Yeah.
But he started describing the 72-hour kit, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I've got one of those. I didn't know how to name. I thought it was
Well, that's what I was just
sense.
thinking. Like in the family car, we have a blanket, a flashlight,
Right.
a candle, all that
Right. It was
sort of stuff that you use in the mountains driving
absolutely.
around.
So
Yeah.
it was just common sense. Growing up in a mountain town, having a 72-hour kit or bug out bag or whatever the hell you want to call it is just the way we live. So I was like, well, people are actually buying this stuff. And he's like, oh, yeah, it's all over the internet. You've not checked out FEMA? And I'm like, FEMA? What the hell is that? So, so I started looking up all this disaster recovery and emergency planning. And I'm like, well, this is all stuff I know.
And is this pre 9/11 or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, no. Shit, I can't even remember. Yeah, 2010. So.
Yeah, so it was after.
Yeah,
for
it was
sure,
after. Yeah. I didn't really ever pay attention to most of the media anyways. I still don't. I never did. I never got into the hype of it all and the panic that goes along with everybody that follows every word that the media says.
I agree. That's one reason why I'm starting this.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just lived my life how I thought was right from growing up in a small town. But I started researching these 72-hour kits and these bug out bags, and I figured out that people were just eating these things up. And I was like, well, I know how to make this stuff. I know how to put together a proper kit. And I was looking out on the internet, eBay and Amazon and everywhere else that was selling them. I'm like, this stuff is junk.
Garbage, yeah.
And so I bought like 5 or 6 of them just to go through them, and half of the stuff that came to me was broken before I even opened it up. After I pulled it out of the bag. I'm like, I can do better than this. So I started making custom bug out bags for people. And I threw them out on eBay, and I built a little website, and it just freaking took off. And I'm like, wow.
Awesome.
And my bug out bags were $500 bottom line.
Wow.
I sold my most expensive kits. I sold to a CEO of a energy company. He bought 5 of them for his family, and they were $3,500 each.
Wow.
Each. He dropped some money. I'm like, what does he know that I don't know?
Exactly, especially if he's the CEO of an energy company. I mean,
and back east, and so
is the grid going down or what?
But I found that most people that I sold the kits to had no idea what to do with them. So I would spend hours on the phone with them, or emails, or messaging back and forth, explaining to them what everything was in those kits, and how to use them. So, and I really enjoyed that more than selling them the gear.
Sure.
So there's my.
Is this your website?
Yeah, this is my website.
Perfect.
There are some kits. There's my the CMM standard survival kit. That's the basic kit.
Okay, tell people what your website is.
It's thesurvivaluniversity.com, www.thesurvivaluniversity.com.
Okay.
What I've got on there, what I focus now on is training. I do have gear out there that you can buy and stuff like that. And I'm probably going to whittle stuff down and get rid of probably 80% of the stuff that's on my website.
Have you seen a major increase in business lately, or on that end of it? Or?
Right. Well, I have sold a bit more gear than I have in the recent years. I pretty much stopped pushing the bug out bags and the survival kits because I just don't enjoy selling gear. I'm not a salesman.
Right.
What I am selling is my personality, really, and my knowledge.
Man, I think you should keep doing it, though. I mean, that's just my personal opinion, because a lot of people, they don't have the time to go shop for this stuff, and maybe they don't know what they're getting.
Right, absolutely.
I don't think it's a bad thing for people to have. I don't think you should be considered a prepper because you have a bag or a first aid kit that's going to let you survive for 72 hours or help you survive if you're in a bad situation, especially if you live in the Rocky Mountain range anywhere, even Smoky Mountains, wherever,
right.
Desert.
What I prefer to do now is the consulting side of stuff. I mean, I don't just want to sell you a bag with everything that should be in a bag. What I usually work with people is, okay, what do you have already? Tell me, here's a list of stuff that I think you should have. If you don't have it, I will sell you the stuff that you're missing. That way I'm not duplicating, I'm not screwing you out of money.
That makes sense. That's more of an honest
yeah. So
way to approach it, for sure.
A lot of people tend to have 50 or 60% of the stuff. They just don't have some of the core items, and then they don't know how to use them. So really, I'll still work with people and do the consulting side of things. I just don't want to throw a bag out here and be like, here's everything you need. I honestly don't feel right about it, because I'm not here to make, I'm here to make money, because this is my lifestyle, my livelihood now, but I'm not here to scam people,
Yeah.
And there's awesome. A lot of people out there that are just trying to make a quick buck.
Yeah, you probably get some cheap shitty knife in the kit or something. That was one thing I wanted to talk to you a little bit about later too, is some of the tools and what you need. But I'm sorry, keep going.
No, that's fine. But yeah, I mean, really, I do the consulting side of stuff now, and after doing that research with what people were buying, that's where I started my business, and it all boiled down to my friend coming in and going, "Help me eat this food," and then from 2010 to about 2014, that's when I was just doing the gear side of stuff, and consulting a little bit. 2014, I was like, I really want to step this up and actually get out there and teach people how to use this stuff. So how do I do it? So I found, I hate to say the name, I found Sigma 3 Survival School out in Arkansas and Missouri. And I went and took their instructor training program.
Yeah, because you're actually certified, right? Like I saw somewhere on your website that you have a bunch of certifications.
Yeah. Well, Sigma 3 does have a instructor training course where they have a certification program, but it's a in-house certification. There's nobody backing it. It's just basically somebody that wrote their name on a piece of paper and were like, here you go.
Like most certifications.
Right, exactly.
Times, yeah.
So I took their class, and, I really, they say if you can't say anything nice about somebody, don't say anything at all. So I
don't worry, man. Nobody's listening to this thing.
Nobody listens to the podcast. No, I'll be honest. If you go there and take that class and you are driven to learn, and you can push aside the drama, and there's a huge amount of drama that happens at that school. If you can push aside that drama and just focus on learning, you're going to do great. I went there with that mental attitude. I went there to learn, and I'm not a dramatic person, so I just put aside the bullshit. And I knew probably 90% of the stuff that they were teaching. I just learned, some slightly better ways to do it. I call them gold nuggets. But I end up doing really well. They have a scout week where you have to go for 7 days out in the woods, and you have to accomplish all these tasks in order to earn back the primitive or the modern gear.
Okay.
I was finished by the second day.
So did you get a refund?
No, yeah. No, I went through
prorated?
No, yeah. So you go through 38 days of training.
Sure.
And then the last 7 days you go through their test, basically. And
so, sorry, real quick, 38 days. So you're in the woods for 38 days?
Yeah, I was Arkansas, Missouri area for 38 days with basically your backpack.
Wow.
Unfortunately, that's how they market it.
Uh-huh.
What it actually is you stay in camp, and whenever the owner decides he wants to go out to eat, he grabs the guys that he likes and is like, hey, let's run to town and get a burger. So that really took away from the experience for me. And we, a lot of the guys end up going to town. I'll be honest with you, after about 2 or 3 weeks of guys coming back with hamburgers and leftover Mexican food while I'm eating freeze-dried food out of a bag and MREs. I broke, and I was like, man, that looks awfully good. Sure, I'll go into town and have a burger and a beer. It's a strength of willpower, and I did fail on that. But other than that, I went there to learn the skills. So I came back from that. Really, the most knowledge I gained out of that was how not to run a survival school. So I'm not going to slam all the skills that you do and learn there, because people will learn something if they can get past the BS. But anyways, I came back to Colorado and I became Sigma 3 Colorado for until from about what I started 2015 to about 2017, 2018. And then I didn't like still being part of that drama, and there were some other shady things going on that I don't really want to talk about at all.
Sure, yeah, we don't have to get into
yeah,
any of
but
that
I
bullshit.
decided that I didn't want to be part of that anymore. So I told the owner I'm done, and then I just blew up. He was like, you can't make it anywhere without me. You're gonna fail. I was like, challenge accepted.
Yeah, sometimes it takes that push to really be like, all right, you know what? Fuck you.
Right.
I'm gonna go do my own thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And I really don't. I hate bashing other people, because even with everything that went on, it's bad business.
That's been some of the, I guess the driving force behind some of my success has just been people telling me that I couldn't do it. And it's like proving those people wrong has helped me out tremendously. So I say thank you to them. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. But yeah, so 2017, 2018, I broke free. Instead of being Sigma 3 Colorado, I went back to being Colorado Mountain Man Survival and started the Survival University. And instead of just being me and a couple of my helpers, I realized one person really cannot know and teach everything. So instead of being like all the other survival schools out there, I started pulling other people in that have expertise in their field, whether it be wild mushrooms or wild edibles or wilderness first aid, wilderness medicine. I've got a butcher he's a world-renowned butcher that
you want to do some name drops?
Yeah,
here?
so I got Jason Newart. He is a certified chef. He hobnobs with all the big chefs that you see on TV. But his specialty is butchering. He grew up in Woodland Park, Colorado. Big hunter, big wild game processor, but he very much enjoys the butchering side of thing. He trains special forces all over the country. They fly him all over the freaking United States to train special forces, guys that don't exist, on how to butcher animals.
Awesome.
But we're working on some classes to come with him. I've done some training with him with his military groups. You just think about that. I'm training military. I'm a civilian. I got Aaron Hutchings. He's Hutch. He's also from Sigma 3. He was the Sigma 3 Colorado replacement for me. He figured things out pretty quick, and he came to me and was like, hey, can I work with you?
What's he got there in his hand? Is that like a basket?
Yeah, that's a basket that he made. It looks like maybe a spindle. I mean, just some crafts. It looks like maybe he's got some mushrooms in there, some chaga, fire starting stuff, natural medicine stuff. I can't really tell. I've never really looked at it, to tell you the truth. But he's great. He could probably, I know he can do everything that I can do, but he's really good with kids. So I've got him working on a kids program. So
that's awesome, because to me, in a situation or growing up in the mountains, I think that kids are probably the most vulnerable to getting lost and not knowing what to do.
Yep.
And having some of these skills may save their life.
Absolutely. See, I encourage parents to bring kids out to my classes, but my classes, the ones I teach, are geared towards adults. And I'm not good at teaching kids. I just can't. I have to change pretty much my subject every 15 minutes to keep them engaged. I'm just not good at that, because my tasks take anywhere between an hour to 4 hours. And I really want to drive that home so I don't change things up. So Aaron is really good about doing that with the kids. So
what a good thing, too, just to get them off an iPad or an iPhone or off a screen. And, that's one of the things that's going on right now with all this homeschooling stuff. Like, my kids are just on this damn screen for like 6 to 8 hours a day, you know, and I'm like, all right, screw this. We're going outside for a couple hours.
It's difficult. Even when they get out there, a lot of times the first day or so, they're still on their phones, but then they start looking up from the phones to see what we're doing. And they're like, oh, that looks kind of fun. I think I'll join in.
Yeah.
And some parents are just like, no, give me your phone, and they freaking throw it in the car.
That's
and
what
lock
I
the
would
keys,
do.
and the kids just have a great time. But who's next on my list here?
What's the youngest age you start accepting kids?
The youngest I've had is 6 years old out at my classes.
Wow.
And it's just really, what I tell the parents is, if you feel your child is responsible enough to learn how to play with a knife and to learn how to start a fire, who am I to judge? Bring them out. And I think it's important for them to learn those skills. So
I really do too. I mean, from a very young age, I can't even remember. I might have been 6 or 7 when I had my first pocket knife.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm sure my grandfather or somebody took it to the grinder and just dulled the edge for me a little bit,
Right.
you know. But
yeah,
and then I think I had my first rifle maybe at 10 or 12 or something like that.
Right.
And it you know, now I know how to use one and I respect it. And
yeah, my first rifle was a 22. I think that's probably what most kids. And I probably had that at, I don't know, 9 or 10 years old. I mean, I shot before that. My dad would take me out shooting his rifles. His 12 gauge put me on my butt more times than I want to count. But, you know, and then 14.
Hey, I'm just to be clear, I'm not saying put a gun in every kid's hand that's 10 years old. I mean,
No.
It comes with responsibility. You got to be a responsible parent.
Oh, yeah.
You as a parent should know how to operate, use, clean, the safety checks, everything on a weapon like that before you even consider teaching your kid how to use one.
Absolutely. Matt Scott, he's next on the list. He's still in the works. He has land. Actually, he's from Fort Collins, but he's got connections to somebody that has a huge ranch up outside of Roosevelt National Forest.
Nice.
And we're working with him to try to get some classes up north. But we're not really doing anything with him yet. So those are the Colorado instructors. So the guest instructors I have that I bring in, Donnie Dust, I don't know if he's on my page or not because he runs his own school right next to me. Okay, we'll wait for Donnie Dust at first. So Justin Lunt he's out of Arizona. He's kind of, I call him a survival hippie. Really great guy, but he's more into the primitive living side of things and the more natural, the survival hippie type stuff. I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know what to call it.
So is it like making stone arrowheads and that sort of thing,
yeah,
or is it more like gathering plants and stuff like that?
All that.
Okay.
I teach all that, but I also teach modern skills. So I start primitive and work my way up to modern. Where Justin is all primitive for the most part. But really great guy. Huge amount of knowledge. It's just what I do is slightly different than he does. But he has, he lives in Arizona, so we run an Arizona desert survival class, and he's my guy.
Oh, awesome! I was going to ask you about that too.
So I go out there with him. He's familiar with the area, so he's kind of my guide. And I go out there with him, and I teach the modern side of stuff, and he teaches, well, this is the plant that you can use, and these are the rocks that you can use, and this stuff like that. So
that's awesome. You got all that diversity and knowledge. You know, I mean, some people, I think their egos kind of keep that to themselves when they get in a situation like yours and small business owner and that sort of thing. And survival schools is a cutthroat industry. Most schools are all about. Most guys are alpha in this industry, and they just want to be like me, and focus on themselves. And this is what I know. Look how great I am. Look what I can do. I don't need to do that. I don't really. That's not my drive. My drive is the student, and I want to bring them the best that they can. And I realize that I'm not the best at everything, so I go out and find the best that can come out here. Mark DeYoung or DeJong, I think it's supposed to be DeYoung, but I always say DeJong. Yeah.
He's out of North Carolina and Georgia. He's a paramedic of 22 or 26 years, but he's also a wilderness first responder instructor. So most wilderness first responder instructors out there I have found are wilderness first responders. So you've got wilderness first responders teaching wilderness first responders. I wanted to take a step up, so I went out and I found Mark, who is a paramedic the wilderness paramedic, and he's certified to teach. So he comes out here and once a year and
I
teaches.
want to come take that class. That's
Mark is a badass. He knows his stuff, and he's been doing it for a long time. He's former military, so he was an Army medic, and then he came back civilian world to be a paramedic.
I think that's also one of the most misleading things out there too is the first aid kits that they sell off the shelf.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
You know, because it has like, if you're really in a bad situation, an assortment of Band-Aids isn't going to help you out.
900
You know
piece first aid kit.
Yeah.
Because 850 of those things are Band-Aids, and the other 49 are ointment. So yeah.
And do you sell first aid kits on your site that are, I mean, like a ton of gauze and ace bandages, medical tape?
I try not to call them first aid kits. I call them trauma kits.
Okay.
But I do have trauma kits, and I do have first aid kits on my site. I prefer to have people build their own, and I prefer to teach people to build their own. This is what you need. Go out and get it on your own because you're going to find better prices than I can give you. I'll sell you the kit for $200 if you want.
Sure.
But you can go out and get it for $100 if you know what to look for. Let me tell you what to look for.
So what are some of the things that you would have in there? Like say that you're backpacking with your family. Maybe you're doing a day trip, 2 days or something, but you're going fairly deep. I mean, like, you know, a good 5 miles.
You want me to tell you the first thing that always comes to mind that makes everybody laugh when I tell them?
Yeah.
Cake frosting.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's for if you come across somebody with diabetes.
Oh, yeah.
If they're down on the trail, you can. You're not.
I never thought about that.
You're not supposed to. If they're unconscious, you're not supposed to give anybody anything. But if somebody's conscious, if somebody's walking around on a trail conscious and they're acting weird, it's a good possibility they're diabetic and they're not in their right mind. So you just give them here, taste this, and usually if they just put a little bit of sugar in their mouth, they'll come out of whatever they're in. But yeah, anyways, moving past cake frosting, I carry a tourniquet on me. I carry gauze and tape and bandages. I carry an OPA. You know what that is?
Nope.
It's an oral phalangeal airway.
Oh, yeah. It depresses the tongue.
Yeah, it depresses the tongue. You spin around, it opens up the airway.
Okay.
But
I do know what that is.
Yeah, but you don't run out and buy one just because I said it. You need to have training to use that because you can really hurt somebody. Really, for my kit that I take out, it's very minimalist because I'm wilderness first responder trained and I know how to improvise out in the woods. But there are a few core things, but really a tourniquet, bandages, tape, gauze.
And where would the average person pick something like this up? Can you run out to a Walgreens or a CVS or something and just get...
You can get gauze and tape at Walgreens. You're going to have to look usually online, Amazon. You can be able to find tourniquets. I carry a SWAT T tourniquet and a CAT tourniquet. There are knockoffs out there, and those knockoffs tend to break easily, so make sure you're buying from a reputable source. And that's all I really can say about that.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, just a very minimal stuff. But I have a a larger car kit, but I'm not an EMT. I'm a wilderness first responder.
Sure.
There is a difference. I'm basically a step below an EMT. And then paramedic, which Mark is like a step above an EMT, if not a little bit more. My next person you guys have on the list is Fernando Moriera. He is a tactical tracker for search and rescue. He trains military, CIA, FBI, you name it. He trains them to find people, whether they're search and rescue or they're criminals trying to track them. That's what he does. He's, I think, a 3rd or 4th generation tracker. So it's been handed down. He's from... I forget exactly where.
How the hell did you find all these people?
Just searching.
Searching.
But he's in he's in Nevada, but dude can track you on city pavement. It's just phenomenal what he can spot. But I have a search and rescue tracking class with him. This year I've got a basic. It's a 4-day class. I've got a basic 4-day search and rescue class, and then right back to back is a advanced. So 8 days we can take you out there and we can teach you how to find people out in the mountains, and it's geared towards search and rescue.
Sure.
because that's what I do.
That's the most common,
right?
too.
Well,
yeah.
not really. I wouldn't say
Yeah?
that's most common. I mean, he goes all over to train military and
Okay.
law enforcement and stuff like that. But I pulled him into my world to teach my type of people to find somebody to save their lives. So that's what he does for me. Really great guy.
That's
full
awesome.
of
What a great
knowledge.
skill to
Yeah,
have. I mean,
yeah. So I am certified tracker now. I took that class with him. So I'm a level 1 tactical tracker. And I'm also, like I said, with Mark DeJong is I'm a wilderness first responder. I've been certified for 6 years now. Just
how hard is that certification to get? Because I
Well,
think that that's something that
that class is a 7-day
the
class.
average person would probably want.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, there is a wilderness first aid class, which is 2 or 3 days, and we do that also. And then there's the wilderness first responder, where our class is 7 days. Most classes are about 5 days. We tried to do a 5-day class 2 years ago, and it was like drinking water through a fire hose. It was just too much information.
Yeah.
So we backed off and put it back to 7 days. My first certification for the WFR, Wilderness First Responder, I went to the University of Utah School of Medicine, and I took a 5-day class out there, and then it was all right. And then I came back, and I was like, well, they won't come to me. I had to go to them. So I found somebody that would come to me, and Mark came to me. And Mark's class, he's not a college. University of Utah School of Medicine is a college. His class just blew theirs away. So I'll never go do that again. I'll never go to a big school to take their classes.
That's good to know.
Right. That being said, moving on, next guy, Doug Dahl. They call him the Arrowhead guy. Doug is, I think, 900 years old. Just kidding. Doug goes out to a lot of the gatherings and does flint napping, stone tools, and stuff like that. So he comes in sometimes and teaches flint napping. He's been doing it for like 55 years.
Have you, speaking of that, have you seen any of like the Arrowhead kits that they sell that are made of like metal? They're prefabricated, just like you would buy a knife.
Yeah, they're made out of copper or stuff like that. Yeah, those are.
Is that something you would recommend carrying, or you know?
Not in my. You're talking about the prefab arrowheads.
Yeah.
I don't. Well, I have like pocket survival kits. It's like a credit card.
Yeah.
It fits in my wallet.
I've seen some of those. They have like a fish hook and.
Yeah, no, they're all right.
Things in
most of them are all right. I've not. Yeah, I mean, if you're able to put them somewhere, yeah. I own something similar to what you have up there on the screen. So yeah, okay. Modern tools. If you can have a modern tool,
sure,
it's hands down better than most primitive things that you can make. However, you should know how to recreate that modern tool on your own and primitive fashion it, because shit happens, you know. You break your knife, you break your
arrowhead. What a cool skill, too. It's
Yeah.
almost like a piece of art, you know,
Right.
at that point,
And
because they get so intricate. I did a little bit of arrowhead hunting as a child with my
me too.
grandfather and
Yeah.
stuff. And man, it was so cool to pick something up like that and then actually see the work that was in it. And
yeah, and there's people
really
out
cool.
there that make beautiful arrowheads out there. But yeah, that's what Doug does.
Cool.
Next up is Donnie Dust. If you haven't heard of Donnie Dust, you should.
I think I have seen this guy. He's got a pretty big Instagram following, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, he was on Alone.
Oh, okay.
So, and Donnie lives in Monument. Donnie's a former Marine, and he's actually, he looks older than me, but he's actually like 5 years younger than me. And tell you the truth, I want to be like him when I grow up.
Right.
He's kind of, I guess I kind of got a man crush on him. Donnie's pretty cool. Reasons I say that is he's very positive person. Just huge amount of positive energy, and you stand next to him, at least me, I feel that positive energy coming off of him. And you know, it's just one of those cool people that you enjoy hanging out with. That's Donnie. But he's full of knowledge. His passion is arrowheads and primitive tools, the atlatl or atlat, if you want,
Okay.
which is basically a 6-foot-long dart that you throw with a handheld.
So it's a spear,
it's
right?
It's a spear,
Yeah.
basically. And
they put feathers on the end of them too, right?
Yeah.
To keep them
Yeah.
it's basically like a giant arrow.
Right.
Yeah.
But Donnie could teach all the modern tactical skills. He can teach wilderness first aid. He can teach tracking. He could do all this stuff. But his preference is to teach the primitive technologies, and he's pretty phenomenal guy. And I pulled him in to do some stuff with me. He has his own business, Paleo Track Survival. He's more into, with what he does, more adventure trips. He doesn't stay in a camp. When he takes his classes out, they go out. I do that like once a year, but all of his classes are like that for the most part. Mine is, I'm trying to get people interested in coming out and teaching them basically beginner level to intermediate, slightly advanced.
How many people, what's the attrition rate? How many people do you have go home after the first night or first 2 nights or something like that?
I've only not had anybody. I think one maybe that have left after. I mean, some people just aren't into it, and they figure out that's not their thing, but they still stick it out. But some people come in going, I don't know about this, and then they leave like just freaking, this was the coolest thing I ever did. Like, I had this one woman that came out. It's kind of funny. She came out and she got out of her car and she's wearing high heels and like a cashmere sweater, big long eyelashes, nails done, makeup. She pulls everything up into camp with her suitcase, and I'm like, oh my God, this woman is not going to make it through the night.
She from Texas?
I'm not really where she was from.
Any of you Texans out there, but
but I mean, total city girl.
Yeah.
And sun going down, and she's sitting there, and she's all nervous, and she's looking around, and she's like, man, it gets dark out here. I'm like, well, there's no city lights. She's like, whoa, what are those things in the sky? I'm like, oh, what? Oh, stars. Yeah, those are stars. We see them a lot out here. But no, I mean, that's a little, but she was totally out of her element.
I mean, that's, if you're in a city for a long time, because I left Colorado at it pretty much right out of high school. I had to move someplace else, go start my career in rock and roll and that whole sort of thing. And, it came all full circle. I wanted to come back. And you don't really realize how good you have it sometimes, or how bright the stars are in the mountains.
Right.
If you're away from it, even just for a little bit. So I can imagine what it would be like seeing it.
Yeah, she was
for your first time,
her mind was blown.
Yeah.
But by the second night, she was all in it. She went out and built her own shelter and slept in her own shelter.
Were the high heels gone at this point?
The high heels were gone for the most part. They were broken probably. She had all of her fingernails were broken off. Her eyelashes were falling off of her face. I had her eating bugs. She was like, if you're going to teach it, I'm going to do it. This is awesome. And I was like,
you remember that movie with Don Johnson where he was like romancing the stone or something like that? And the only thing I really remember is there was some city girl that was with him there in the jungle surviving, and he was like that wasn't Don. That wasn't Don Johnson. That was. Oh, it wasn't. Okay.
Yeah, Michael Douglas, right?
Oh, yeah. Michael Douglas. Yeah, that's right.
Right.
But I just remember there was a scene in that video or in that movie where he just took a machete and just chopped the high heel part of her shoe off, like the little stem.
But yeah, it was great because she just freaking ate it up.
Yeah.
I thought for sure she was going down after the first night. And then other times I get these guys that are hardened dudes out there. They're like, oh, I can do this. I'm the man. I've watched 1,000 YouTube videos. And day 2, they're like, oh my God, I'm so tired.
Well, there's a big difference between watching YouTube videos and actually doing it, right?
Oh, yeah.
I think,
absolutely.
Especially a skill like this, doing it, you're going to learn way more than you would just sitting on your couch watching YouTube videos.
YouTube, everything is done basically in 15 to 30 minutes tops. It looks like, oh, that's easy. This guy did it in 15 minutes. Yeah. There's
here we go. Here's Don Johnson.
Don Johnson and Michael Douglas. Yeah. Yeah,
here it goes.
I carry a knife like that.
I can't believe I remembered this. I think the last time I watched this, I was probably 8 or 9 years old. That's a big survival knife he's got there.
Yeah, big old machete.
Yeah.
But yeah, really what I've learned is with the students coming in, you can't judge a book by its cover out there, really. And I don't really judge anybody anyways, because I want everybody to come out there. And I think that's why people enjoy coming to me, is I'm not judgy. And I don't focus on any anything that would.
You're just there
you know,
to teach them.
I'm just there to teach, and I don't care if what your political beliefs are or your religious beliefs or whatever it is. I don't care. That's not why we're there. I'm there to teach you how to not die.
And a lot of that stuff, if you're really in a situation, probably goes right out the window. You're just trying to survive.
Right. Yeah. Who cares? Okay, next person, Cattail Bob. Cattail Bob Seebeck. He's a college professor, or at least he was. I think he's whittling things down, but he still teaches for some colleges. He lives up here somewhere, maybe in Lyons, I believe.
Okay.
Somewhere up this way.
Mm-hmm.
But he's been doing this he's been teaching since 1975. I was born in 1975.
Right.
So, but he is really great at plants. I mean, he comes out and teaches wild plants with me. He's more focused on identifying plants more so than using them. He knows how to use them, a lot of the stuff, most of the stuff, but his focus is teaching you how to go out and be like, oh, that's stinging nettle.
Right.
And then you look up stinging nettle, what do I do with it? But yeah, he comes out and does a class with me. Really great guy. But yeah, he's coming out this year for I think it's just a day class. But yeah, he teaches all over Colorado.
So where can somebody find your schedule? I'm sure it's on your website, but do you list what the class is and what?
Yeah, so if you go to the website, very first home screen, just below the title, the main title bar of the top of the screen, right below it is a little picture that says class schedule. You click on that and it gives you a full schedule for the year of everybody that's out there.
Cool. And then I kind of stumbled across you too is you have a bunch of survival tips that are on there, just like for what to have in your car if you're in a situation. You have a ton of them on there for different urban wilderness.
I've kind of been slacking on the webpage, but I try to put as much knowledge out there as I possibly can. Because, really, somebody, if they want to, they can go out and buy a book and read about all this stuff.
Sure.
So why not share what I know? But reading about it in a book or reading about it online is totally different than going out and actually hands-on dirt time, getting your hands dirty.
Sure.
So
Do you have your own book?
Not yet. No.
So that's something that you're working on?
In the future. I haven't written yet. I mean, I've got so much other stuff going on. Yeah. But yeah,
So how many years have you been at this? So 2010?
2010.
So you got some years under your belt right now.
Two or 3 years.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. What is it? 11 years now, right?
Yeah.
10 years. Yeah. So I've been.
We'll call it 11.
Yeah. I mean, I've been teaching technically for 10 years, well, if you can count the consulting. I've been doing it full time since 2015, really. So, I've got 5 or 6 years of that.
So I got to ask you, what made you make that jump? Were you just like, okay, I've had enough of the IT world. This isn't, we kind of got it touched on that, but we didn't really go.
Well, I mean, really what just pushed me, well, when I was still working IT when I went to the survival instructor school. And I told them, I'm taking 45 days off, and I only had enough vacation for about half of that. They're like, yeah, we're not approving that. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I didn't ask. I'm telling you, I'm taking 45 days off. If you want to hire me back when I get back, great. I've got 20 years experience with you. Find somebody that's got 20 years experience.
Right.
And they're like, shit. Okay, go. You'll have your job when you get back. I'm like, thank you. I'll see you in 45 days. But anyways, 2015, the entire Colorado department, they laid off the entire building, like 1,500 people. Everybody got let go, basically. Well, over a short period of time.
There's so many people going through that right now.
My entire team of 20 some odd people all got laid off in one day. And I had seen the writing on the wall for years ahead of time. And I was like, well, I'm going to lay the groundwork for my business. And everybody's like, no, this is not what's going to happen today. And I went in there with a smile on my face. I'm like, I want to get me a big-ass severance package so I can freaking kickstart my business. I'm ready. I'm ready for this. And everybody else was crying. And I'm like, please, lay me off. Right. And when they did, I was in my head, I'm going, woo, rock on, let's do this. So I got laid off, got a severance package that basically covered me for 2 years. And I never looked back. So the if anybody wants to get into owning their own business and they're working for somebody else, you have to lay the groundwork while you're still in that business, get things set up, lay that foundation. That way, if something happens or when you're ready, you make that leap.
Man, there's so much of that going on right now. Like, I work in entertainment now.
Yeah.
And there is so many people laid off right now.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
But the creative stuff that's coming out of that, like people that are writing music that I never had any idea. Shout out to Justin Freeman, by the way. He sent me a song the other day that was just incredible. And I had no idea he could do that. And I'm like, hey, man, why don't you put this up? And then there's people writing books and just learning all kinds
people
of
have
stuff.
so much talent out there, and they don't tap into it, and they don't realize it, whether it's musical or writing books or whatever, making pottery or making knives or doing what you do. This is a talent. Not everybody can get out there and talk to people.
Fortunately, I had this plan to start this thing right before all this shit went down. And we didn't have you planned for the first episode, but you are the first episode.
Oh, awesome.
So congratulations,
Very cool.
man.
Thanks.
This is awesome.
Thanks.
I'm glad
That's
you're
cool.
here.
Thank you. Okay, so Mike Essam, like everybody calls him Mushroom Mike. He is the only person, as far as I know up to this point, that is certified by the state of Colorado to teach about wild mushrooms. That might have changed since he's been teaching with me over the last 2 years, but he's
he's a considered. Do you consider him a mushroom hunter, or isn't that what? I mean, there's a bunch of people out there.
Mushroom aficionado.
Okay.
Yeah, he could tell you. I mean, probably everything you would ever want to know about every kind of mushroom, and he'll tell you which ones make you trip, which ones don't, which ones are edible, which ones are poisonous.
I need to talk to that guy.
Right. Oh yeah. Medicinal. He not only goes out and finds them, but he eats them, and he's a mushroom guy through and through. And you come out and he comes out to classes and he's totally like, hey man, how's it going? And he's got beads, and I mean, he's total mushroom hippie, freaking fantastic guy, knows his stuff. What I love about him though is if you come across a mushroom and you're like, hey, what's this mushroom? And he doesn't know, he'll be like, I don't know. Those are the best teachers. If he's gonna.
Are you supposed to eat a mushroom you're not sure what it is?
No, yeah, go ahead and throw it out in your mouth, see what happens. But I've only found him to not know a couple of them, and it's because they probably look so much like some other mushroom, and he's like, that kind of looks like this, but I really don't know what this is, so we're just going to leave it alone. So, but yeah, he's known probably 95% of everything that's out there. And it's crazy. This last class this year at my location, about 9,500 feet in the mountains, he, with the class, I think we had probably about 8 to 10 people that came out for the class. In my immediate valley, we'll say 1,000 acres, but we didn't cover that 1,000 acres. We collected about 50 pounds of edible mushrooms that I had no idea even existed.
They're just wild mushrooms.
Wild mushrooms.
50 pounds, and how big?
Yeah, we probably walked maybe 100 acres.
Really?
With 12 of us. I mean, just walking a trail around 100 acres, just kind of beating through the woods. Yeah.
So this guy knows his shit then.
He does. Yeah. We found mushrooms that tasted like steak, literally like a fried steak. It was freaking awesome. Chanterelles, which are a big popular mushroom. I don't know anything about, but they're highly sought after. We found morels. We found all sorts of stuff. I'd never known that they were there because I'm not a mushroom guy.
I mean, I think that there's people that make a living off of just hunting mushrooms, right? Like truffles and like all that sort of weird exotic mushroom.
Yeah. So stuff. Mike is, I think he lives in Manitou Springs. So
he's got right down the road from you then, huh?
So super awesome guy. Just knows everything, and I trust him with everything. So Matt Boger, he is a Army Ranger, retired. He retired last year, 2 years ago. He's the real deal. He's the type of guy that you drop behind enemy lines with a toothpick, and he's going to come back out the other side. But super calm dude, he's that quiet guy in the bar that you're like, I don't think I'm going to mess with that dude.
Yeah, most of the Special Forces guys that I know or have been around, you would never guess it.
No.
You wouldn't know passing. They're cool people to hang out with. They're
Super
easy
cool.
to get along with. They can have a conversation for the most part.
He's hard to figure out because when you talk to him, he's very monotone, very flat until you get him going and until he figures you out. And then his bubbly personality comes out. But even when he comes back to me every once in a while, he's very flat until I get him going again. And he's just happy-go-lucky, great guy. But he teaches navigation for me. We have a 3-day navigation class with him. In the 1,000 acres, he can teach you how to find a certain tree in that 1,000 acres of property that we operate on. So he's phenomenal. Awesome. But yeah, he does more of the tactical training. So if we ever needed to do more.
Do you guys teach a lot of that at the school, or is it
tactical? We don't really do the firearms. We have no firearms training. It's really not. There's plenty of other people out there to do that. There's too much risk for me involved with that, so I don't mess with the firearms. We just do.
That's smart.
Yeah, we do practical survival skills for the everyday person, really. And I do consider primitive skills practical to some extent.
So for the people that are listening now, and if they've never taken a survival course or haven't thought about taking one yet, do you have one that's like classes that are advanced and some are intermediate and then some are very beginner style?
This year I started a beginner survival class, which is just basically coming out and starting a campfire, pitching a tent, boiling water on a campfire. Very basic class, and that's a 2-day class. I think that I'm trying to gear down towards people because I don't realize what I know. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, 100%. And I think that I took a lot of that for granted, and that was kind of the catalyst for me starting this whole thing, is to try to help educate people, because I go on some of these hikes and, you can drive to 14,000 feet pretty easily. There's quite a few spots, and people just take off on a trail with a T-shirt and,
they have
a
no
fanny
idea.
pack, maybe their cell phone's in it or something like that.
Yeah.
And, the other thing was, I'm tired of seeing dog shit bags on the trails and just, trash in the river when I go fishing. I love to fly fish, and every time I go now, like as a kid, I never remembered it. And I was taught, if you see something,
pick it up.
You pick it up, but I see fishing line and
it's everywhere now.
Tackle.
It's sad.
I mean, we're not talking like a raging river. Like it's a creek basically, right? It's dubbed as a river, but you can't wade across there to, it might be knee deep in some spots. To get whatever tackle you left, you're going to break it off and just leave it, that sort of thing.
Yeah, we do teach I'm not, because of what I do, I'm not overly pushing the leave no trace.
Sure.
Because, I cut down trees, but I harvest ethically when it comes to plants and stuff like that. But when it comes to packing out my trash, absolutely.
That's a staple. I mean,
right.
You're supposed to be able to enjoy it, and you want to leave it so other people can enjoy it, and especially so your kids can enjoy it in the future.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge thing that's lacking these days. So that survival for beginners class would be part of that class. And but yeah, I mean, trash out there nowadays is just ridiculous. And I wish Colorado's growing at 10,000 people per month. If we continue to grow at 10,000 people a month, and people keep going out there and treating our forests like they are now coming in, it's going to be a junkyard out there,
100%.
So, I don't know. We just need to respect what we do out there. And if you are going to be out there doing what I do, bushcrafting, you need to do it ethically. So,
sure.
And there is.
Are there certain spots where you can't bushcraft, like in a national forest, for example? You can't just go whacking down trees and build a shelter.
No, you're not supposed to do anything like that in a national forest. You can do it on BLM. You can do it on some state parks.
Obviously, if it's a survival situation, you're going to do what you need to do to survive.
I mean, seriously, if you break the law during a survival situation, if SWAT falls out of the sky, at least you're getting rescued.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, you're not supposed to do it on the big parks like that. But I operate mostly on private land, and that's it. If I'm hitting government land, state land, BLM, I'm walking through it so that I can get to the private land that's on the other side. But that's about it. But yeah, you're not supposed to on national forests and things like that. And if you are on government land, I should say public land,
Yes.
you should, if you do build anything, it's supposed to be temporary. You're not supposed to leave any man-made stuff behind. So if you're taking and building a shelter and you're using paracord to tie up that shelter, you can't leave it there. You have to take it down. If you're using natural materials to build it, then that's fine. You're not breaking the law technically.
So you can leave your fire pit, but take everything else with you.
Yeah, you can leave your fire pit, or you can leave vines that use. If you can
Please
find
drown
vines.
your fires,
Yes,
everybody.
absolutely.
Please drown your fires.
How many fires have we had?
Put dirt on top of it. You know.
Yeah, fires have been a
God.
huge danger here.
And you know, one thing that's really disturbing to me that I see a lot now too, because I try to spend as much of my free time as I can in the spots I did when I was a kid, where my uncles were taking me fishing. Like, I'm taking my kids now. And you know, you said with those 10,000 people moving to Colorado every day, I think a lot of it is people just aren't educated. So like,
They
you know, I hate to talk about this on the first podcast, but taking a dump, you know, in the woods, you're supposed to do it a proper way. You're supposed to dig a hole,
right.
buy biodegradable toilet paper, if
Right.
it's on the shelf.
Yeah, right. If you can find it.
And bury it, you
Yeah.
know? Like, I don't know how many campsites I've stumbled across, and there'll just be toilet paper everywhere. You can tell where everybody's went to the bathroom.
Right.
Sometimes it'll be right next to a river, you
Yeah.
know? It's like, at least get, 50 yards from it or
Right.
whatever the
Yeah,
the
you got to
standard
learn
is.
that sanitary. Whatever you want to call it. You have to be sanitary, and you have to learn proper etiquette.
Yeah.
And most of us that have lived in the woods or in the mountains, we know it. It's just ingrained into us.
It was something that, I had to be taught it,
Right.
but I was fortunate enough that I had people that taught me that.
Right.
So,
yeah, I mean, first time I caught my kid peeing in the stream, I came up and popped him in the back of the head. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What do you mean? I'm like, take it up on the side of the hill. You don't do that. Think about the guy that's downstream drinking out of that. And he's like, oh, yeah, I never thought about
Exactly.
that. I'm like, well, yeah, that's just have a little common courtesy. But the next class up after that, beginners, I have a 5-day class, 5-day outdoor survival skills. We basically cover food, fire, shelter, water, all the core survival skills. We start off primitive and work up to advanced. So
Is that your biggest attending class?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, we teach modern and primitive skills in that.
So if somebody has no skills, do you recommend that they take that first class that you talked about, the beginner class, and
if
then
they've never been camping, take that first class.
sure.
If you're, you've gone out and you're an outdoorsman, or you like to go hiking and stuff like that, anybody will benefit from the 5-day class. I don't care if you are the biggest, baddest outdoorsman out there. I've never had somebody walk away from my class and tell me that they learned nothing. Everybody was like, oh, I learned at least this one thing that made it all worthwhile for them. So yeah, that 5-day class is really ideally what I would recommend everybody start off with, unless you're so uncomfortable with being out in the woods with a crazy bearded man,
Yeah.
to go to the survival basics class. But most people come out to that 5-day. Okay, so next guy on our list, it's Alberto, but Albert Lopez. He's in Costa Rica. So we have a Costa Rica jungle survival class. So
awesome.
We've got one scheduled for September
For
this
Don
year.
Johnson.
For Don Johnson. So I went down to Costa Rica in 2018, I think, and spent 14 days out in the jungle with him.
Where's that at in Costa Rica?
All the way down south.
Okay.
So we flew into San Jose, spent the night there, and then drove.
What an awesome place,
Oh,
huh?
it's
So beautiful, man.
beautiful. Honestly, if things go great with my survival business, I'm retiring to Costa Rica. I might go work with Alberto. But beautiful area down there. The jungle was just freaking amazing. It's probably, if I didn't have him with me, it'd be a scary place to be. Out in the jungle proper.
The first time I was ever there, I was walking down the street, and we were in a populated area, but I'm walking down the street and I'm like, what is this trash bag in the middle of the road? And I start getting closer and closer. It was a fucking boa constrictor eating an iguana. I was like, this was one of the first things I saw. I'd seen like maybe a dozen people, and then this, and it was just like in the middle of broad daylight.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, Costa Rica is beautiful area, beautiful place. Could be very deadly if you don't know what you're doing. But yeah, we're gonna go down there in September. I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, Alberto, I think he started out in I think Nicaragua. Yeah, it's on the page, Nicaragua. But where he ran his classes got waylaid by a hurricane, so he up and moved to Costa Rica, and he says it's better there anyways. But yeah, he's also a pretty hardcore firearms instructor. He does executive protection and stuff like that. So I'm totally fine with him. He's kind of a badass. So
Yeah.
I'm not worried
You kind
about
of need that down there too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think it's as bad as it was like in the 80s or 90s, but
No,
it's still
no,
it's a
but
concern.
when you go down there, he tells you do not bring any military style stuff with you. No camo clothing. Don't look like you're military down there because they will stop you and they will search you and they will probably arrest you, and you'll spend your entire 10 to 14 days that you're supposed to be down there training in jail, and then they'll
Right.
send you on the plane and send you home.
I think you're a gorilla.
Right. Okay, so next one I actually was Nicole Pillion. Her class kind of fell through when I had her scheduled. I'm working on getting her out there again. She's so busy, but she was on Alone season 2, and she's been on Alone again. When she was scheduled to come out here, she had just gotten back from Mongolia, Alone season 2, and she's got some sort of chronic disability that really flared up right before her class. She basically couldn't move, and we had to cancel her class. But hopefully we'll have her out here again sometime. I am working I've worked with her before online doing stuff. I joined a group that she was part of, and since left that group. But Nicole's super cool lady, super knowledgeable. She's got her master's, PhD, the best of the best that she can get on herbalism, wild plants. She knows everything in and out, how to make medicines for it. I am trying to do a webinar with her here soon. I've been doing kind of like this thing that we're doing here with other survival instructors or people like her that are really specialists in their field, because right now people being locked in their homes, me being locked in my home, other survival instructors being locked in their home, we need the outlet. So I'm trying to pull people in to broadcast.
So are you posting that stuff on your website, or do you have a podcast that you want to plug? Or
I don't necessarily have a podcast. I haven't figured that out yet. I
can give you some tips on that, because I just went through all the bullshit to get one going. It's actually not that bad. I mean, there's some red tape, but
right,
it's not that hard.
But no, I get online, we do through an application, a web-based application, and we do face-to-face with webcams, the best face-to-face.
Okay, so where would people find that? Like on a YouTube channel or something?
Yeah, so it records automatically to my Facebook page.
Okay.
CMM Survival, so facebook.com/CMM Survival. They can watch those directly there, and then also it goes directly to YouTube, records on both of them. So you watch them live when they're happening, and then it records.
Oh, so it's a live stream.
It's a live stream, yeah.
Wow.
In the moment, But yeah, if you can't watch it there in the moment, you can watch it later on YouTube or Facebook. But I had my first little thing that I did was with one of my assistant instructors, and we just kind of sit and, like me and you are, and just kind of bullshitted about the coronavirus, and I went over survival kits and what people should have in their home.
I actually watched one of your videos, and I think it was the most informative video that I've seen. Like all the news that I've watched and everything, you were teaching people, and I mean the media's kind of caught on to it now with, everybody's supposed to be wearing a mask or whatnot, but yours was super informative. Like, hey, if you're going to the store.
Oh, is that my coronavirus video?
Yeah, you were showing how to properly take rubber gloves off. Right. You showed how to properly take a mask off, because you can wear all that shit to protect you, but if you don't take it off properly,
right,
you're just transferring whatever's on it onto you or in your home.
Absolutely, yeah.
It was
Yeah,
awesome.
I mean, yeah.
I like your comic relief ones too. I think the next one that popped up, it was like you spraying your son in the face with like disinfectant or something.
Yeah.
Like you were picking him up from a friend's house or something like that.
Well, there were so many serious videos out there. I mean, I take the COVID-19 very seriously.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always have to be so serious. And my style when I'm nervous or when I'm upset or whatever is I find a joking or happy solution to resolve it. I don't
Sure.
sit and dwell on a negative. I look for positive ways to get through
Oh,
it.
you should see all the text messages I've gotten from all my buddies.
The memes are freaking great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just
There's some good comedy coming out of this for sure.
Yeah. So that I just went with that. But I forget where I was at with that. Oh, so the podcast. Yeah, I went. So the first webinar, I'll call it a
sure.
webinar, was with my assistant instructor, and we just sit around BS'd about coronavirus and taught some people some skills. My next one was with Wazoo Survival Gear, the owner of Wazoo Survival Gear. He moved from Texas. Now he's in the Broomfield area somewhere. They moved their warehouses up here, but he makes wearable survival gear, like the hat that I'm wearing. So this hat that I'm wearing is a stash cap. I can hide stuff in this hat.
Really?
Driver's license, knives, whatever I might want to hide in here. Another thing I'm wearing, I've got a fire starter that they make around my neck, so I can start a fire at any time.
Anywhere. Yeah.
And then this is a knife sharpener. I don't have one yet, but they have like a stash belt, so you can hide stuff in your belt.
And what's this gentleman's website? Do you want to give him a shout out real quick?
Yeah. Dustin Hoggard is his name. His partner's name is still down in Texas. His name is Nick. I'm sorry, Nick, I don't know what your last name is, but their Wazoo Survival Gear is their website. And wearable survival gear. But yeah, I think it's just Wazoo Survival Gear.
What a great concept, because sometimes you don't even really know when you're going to need it. You know what I mean?
But yeah, they make tools for your EDC. That's everyday carry. So things that you can have on you and not be totally obvious.
Not the rave, kids. Not the EDC rave, right?
Right, yeah.
Electric Daisy Carnival.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that is. But yeah, I mean, so it's really great gear. It doesn't look like you could wear this belt in a suit and tie, and
Sure.
You're prepared for something, and people wouldn't even know it. I think they started doing.
What's the TSA sort of stuff if you're traveling with it? Is some of it TSA approved, or do you know?
I don't.
Can you speak on
I've
that?
worn the fire starter on a plane. They don't know what the hell it is. They
Yeah.
have no idea. Most people don't. All it is, it's ferricium rod that I don't think the metal detectors pick up on a leather cord that goes around my neck, and this is a piece of ceramic.
Okay.
So the ceramic.
All you Unabombers out there listening, don't get any ideas.
It just makes a spark, you're not going to blow anything up with it.
Exactly.
And then a little knife sharpener. So which just looks like a rock,
Yeah.
So I look like a Viking, sort of one. But it's wearable gear. But that's who my second guy was, and we talked about his small business and how he adjusted or how he prepared, because he saw the writing on the wall with the coronavirus. He was ready when the coronavirus hit. So he just hit the ground running, but trying to teach people possibly what to do next time something comes along. And then my next one was with Donnie Dust, and we just was kind of a Q&A session. What do you want to know from two survival guys? And then next week I'm doing it again with him, and we're going to talk about medical first aid stuff, what you should have in your home, in your car, and on your person at all times when you're going out to do
when
stuff.
are you guys planning on dropping that?
Friday at 4 p.m.
Okay.
So and that'll be again just.
And they can watch it after if they're not available.
Right. Absolutely.
4 p.m. Okay,
yeah.
cool.
And then the Thursday following that, I've got Survival Betty. She's out of Oregon, I believe. She's a homesteader, gardener, herbalist. So she's going to come on and talk about gardening and herbalism and stuff.
Betty sounds like a badass.
Yeah, she is. She's actually former law enforcement.
Okay.
So she's not somebody who I'd want to mess with probably, but she's just like, I'm not that anymore. I'm a mom. I'm a gardener. So
cool.
So she's really cool lady. So that's the Thursday after that. But yeah, I mean, I got a lot of stuff going on all times. My head
Yeah,
is,
it
I'm
sounds like
always
it, man. That's awesome.
That's part of being an entrepreneur, I guess. Your wheels are always spinning, and when something like this pandemic comes along, you don't give up. You just keep going.
Hey, Jeremy, what were you telling me today that at the Bronx Zoo or something, like right before the podcast, we were talking about some tigers or something at the Bronx Zoo that
4 or 5 of their cats have tested positive for that.
Really?
Damn, that's scary. It's going to transfer to animals. I mean, think about all the hunters and stuff out here.
That's
and,
crazy.
Like, you think about like chronic wasting and some of those other like crazy diseases like that.
Because they were saying it wasn't transferable to animals.
Year-old Malayan tiger.
Wow.
Jeez.
Developing a dry cough.
People are gonna lose their shit now.
Oh man. I hope the shit ends at some point, man.
Honestly,
or at least the hysteria behind it, you know.
I hate to say it, but I think this is a new way of life.
Yeah.
I think that it's going to cycle through every year just like the flu does, and we're going to either have to adapt or we're going to die.
Yeah.
And really that's kind of what I teach is, you know.
That's one good thing about the human body is it's pretty good at adapting to all this sort of BS. I mean, like, think about how many people are battling it now without any sort of medication or anything like that, you know, and their immunity is fighting it off.
Right. You know, and I don't know, you either figure it out or you don't. And it really, this whole thing is a mental game. Survival is 90% mental and 10% skill.
Sure.
No matter how skilled you are, if you can't keep it together mentally, you're gonna break down and you're gonna lose it.
And that's one of the bad things about this with the media is like they got you so scared to death that if you do get it or you're around it, it's almost like, you know, you have the plague or something like that. Well, which, you know,
it is scary. And I'll tell you right up front, my wife works in the hospital. She works for the doctors that are treating the COVID-19 patients. Their specialty is lungs.
Shout out to your wife, man. God bless these people that are on those front lines.
She's not in the ICU. She's not direct contact. So she's safe. You know,
doesn't matter. I mean,
But I get daily updates basically from the hospitals through her. I mean, she can't tell me everything because of you know, patient privacy, whatever it's called. I forget the name for it, but she can't tell me everything, but she tells me what she can. And I tell you, I'm wearing a mask when I can. I'm wearing gloves. I'm staying home.
I think you should. If all the experts are telling you to, if the experts are telling you to get a flu shot, go get a flu shot.
I tell you, I don't get a flu shot. I'll tell you that much. So I've gotten a flu shot twice. Once when I was in my early 20s. I've gotten a flu shot once. The first time I got the flu was immediately after I got the flu shot.
Really?
The second time I got the flu was about 10 years later, and I just got it. But I don't get the flu shot. I would probably resist getting the COVID shot if it ever comes out.
Right. Well, I mean, for people our age, I could see if you were, you know, past that 65-year-old threshold or, you know.
Yeah, definitely. When you get older, then you just don't care. But but yeah, I don't pay attention to the media hype. I don't pay attention to the political side, any of that. What I pay attention to is the professionals in the field that are on the front lines, and I'm getting direct information from those professionals, and this is no joke.
Can you tell us some of what you've heard, or is that? Well, I don't want to compromise anything with your wife or anything like that. You know,
there are the one hospital in Colorado Springs. There's an entire 4th floor dedicated to ICU for the sick people. The entire floor is full of sick people. You don't hear that in the media.
Like it's maxed out.
It's maxed out, the entire floor. And that's people in ICU. So they're sick.
So they're super sick.
Sick.
They're battling for their, if you're in ICU, you're pretty much battling for your life.
Well, there's 100 of those people are critical.
That's even worse.
Which is worse. So the entire floor is full, 100 people are critical. And there are, not necessarily in Colorado, but there are doctors, a lot of doctors in the United States that have died from this. You don't hear this stuff
Yeah.
in the media. At least I've not heard it.
I saw something today that the death toll was at like 9,500 or something. Just
Yeah, I
past
don't know what the
9,500 or
death
something.
toll is. I believe the death toll is
And-
higher
and
than
it's
they
just
tell
gonna,
us.
Yeah, it's gonna keep going.
And honestly, I believe they're not telling us that because people will freak out. It's not because they're hiding anything from us for any conspiracy theory reasons. I think it's because they realize that we're emotionally not ready for this.
Yeah,
And people are gonna. I mean, look what happened when they thought.
you're
when
gonna
it
know
happened.
somebody
People-
by the end of it. You know,
Right,
that's,
I already
yeah.
know. I already know
Really?
somebody. Yeah. I won't mention his name,
Yeah.
but he took his wife in, and she was feeling kind of crappy for a few days, and they waited it out. Didn't really want to go. By the time he did decide and got her to the hospital, while they were wheeling her in, they were shoving an IV in her neck to try to keep her conscious because she was just falling out
Oh
right
man,
there.
what a horrible
Right.
yeah
So
situation. man.
yeah, I know people, or at least know one person, and then how many people do I know that haven't said anything yet? Take the proper precautions and you're fine.
Yeah.
Most people are going to be fine, but there's no demographic for this. It's not just attacking old people.
Yeah,
or
that's
young
what they
people.
first started saying, and then as it progressed, there was, I hate to say it, there was a few children, and then
Right.
there were some middle-aged people and stuff.
Right.
So
Now, a lot of people are saying that the middle-aged people that are getting it have had underlying issues, and that's true. The majority of the people that they've checked, I don't know. To some extent, it's true that a lot of the people that have died have had underlying issues, whether they're obese or diabetes or cardiac heart issues or previous lung issues. But I guarantee you, they've not checked everybody.
yeah,
So who knows?
I know a couple people that have had the symptoms,
Well,
and they've straight up told them, "Do not go get tested.
right.
Don't
Well,
go get tested. Why chance it? We
Right.
don't know if you have it or not, but if you go and get tested, you're more than likely going to come back with it."
Right, because you're
So-
going to the hospital where it's just a breeding ground.
Yeah.
Honestly, my wife and I believe that she had it probably about a month ago, the wife and the kids, and it never hit me, but they all felt generally crappy, but it was something different.
Mhm.
They've had the flu, they felt something, they had the dry cough, they had a mild fever, they had a headache, and they just felt that way for about 10 days, and then it just went away. So
Huh.
I think a good deal of people have already had it. They just they don't know it.
Right.
But now it's mutated 3 times since it came to the United States. So
Oh god! And I heard somewhere that they found another one on some bus or something in China. It's
Yeah.
like, so now it's a media feeding
Right.
frenzy. You
So
know. It's,
that you're just you get all these bits of information from all over the place, so you don't really know exactly what to believe. So I do the best I can. That's all any of us can do. But
sure.
fear, even in survival, fear is a good thing. Panic is not.
Yeah.
You need to learn how to control your fear. That's really all there is to it, and don't panic. And I think because of what I do, I'm pretty calm about this
Yeah.
whole thing. I mean, I'm concerned, and I'm taking the precautions like any good survival instructor would do. But I'm not going over the top. I'm telling you people what I know, but I'm also saying I don't know if what I know is true, but here's what I know. Take it for what it's worth. Make your own decisions. Just know that when I talk to you, I don't just blow smoke up your ass.
Right.
I'm telling you from research that I've done to the best of my ability. So, and I don't play into the hype of it all. So take that for what it's worth.
Yeah. No, that's great, man. I appreciate your honesty and you coming on the podcast. We're getting a little short on time here. Let's one more time tell people where to find you and if they want to go to school or whatever, or go to a class, or just even check out your website. Tell them one more time if you got an Instagram or anything like that too.
So my website is thesurvivaluniversity.com. I have Facebook page. Just search for Colorado Mountain Man Survival, but it's Facebook/CMM Survival, Instagram CMM Survival, YouTube CMM Survival. So if you look for CMM Survival, you're going to find me. If you Google Colorado Mountain Man Survival, you're going to find me. I'm the top of the list. If you Google Colorado Survival School, I'm number 1 on the list. So I'm pretty easy to find.
Of course you're number one on
Right.
this, bro.
Not trying to be
Yeah.
cocky. I've put a lot of years
Yeah.
into dropping, working the and
Well, and I think the information that you have up there is actually useful. Like,
well, thanks.
I've been looking for somebody like you, and 9 times out of 10, I run into more of like the prepper type thing. And
Right.
you felt genuine. Some of the other
I tried.
people I ran across,
You know?
it seemed like it was a lot of bullshit.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of armchair quarterbacks out there, and you have to weed through it, and it's really hard to do. So, and it's my passion, and it's really what I want to do. And I'm not going to lie to you, there are people out there that are better than me. I'm not going to tell you who they are, but
Yeah.
you'll find them. And
Well, they're all teaching at your school, right?
right? Yeah, I brought them in. I try to bring them in. But yeah, the Survival University, that's me.
Hey, man, I would just want to say I really appreciate you coming out during the pandemic and making the drive. What'd you drive, 2 hours?
Yeah,
Something
about
like
an
that.
hour and a half. But
Yeah.
no, I'm very happy to be here.
Man, I think it's
had a blast.
informative, and I think it's really going to help some people out, and I think that you could help some people out in the future too. So if you guys are listening to this, definitely check out Jason, check out his school, man. He's got some cool stuff. So
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me out.
yeah, man.
Any last questions you want to ask?
Well, we want to have you on the show again eventually.
yeah.
You kicked off the first episode, so we're gonna have to have you back. And
Oh,
we
I'd
had a
love to
good
come back.
conversation. It's crazy to think that we just did an hour and a half.
Wow,
and
yeah, it feels like 5
it
minutes.
feels like we could keep going, but we got to cut it short with all of our technology here.
Right.
We'll get it better in the future.
All right, man. I appreciate
All right.
it. Thank you.
Thanks again, Jason. Jeremy, you good?
We're good.
All right, brother. We'll see you guys later. Thanks for listening.